The brightest flames always attract the most shadows. The ones who fear the light will do anything to extinguish it. They can't stand the way you shine. They call you crazy, dangerous, a threat, not because you are, but because your existence alone exposes their lies. You force them to see themselves for what they truly are, and nothing terrifies them more than the truth staring back at them. They are at war, not with you, but with the universe itself, and that's a battle they will never win. But before we go deeper, hit that like button and subscribe. Every time you do, this message reaches more chosen ones. It signals YouTube that the awakened are rising, and this truth will not be silenced. Let's make sure they hear us loud and clear. Now listen carefully, chosen ones. You were never meant to blend in. You were born to disrupt, to break cycles, to bring light where darkness thrives. And for that, they will always come for you. They will twist your words, smear your name, make you doubt yourself. Why? Because they need you to question your own power. Because the moment you embrace it fully, their entire illusion crumbles. They want you to believe that you are alone, that no one sees what you see, that your thoughts are just paranoia. But let me tell you this, if you were truly insignificant, they wouldn't waste so much effort trying to destroy you. Think about it. Have you ever seen a hunter chase something that wasn't valuable? No. Predators only go after what they fear losing. And they fear you. They see the way the universe moves for you, the way you survive storms that should have destroyed you, the way you rise, no matter how many times they try to break you. That is the power of being chosen. It haunts them. Because deep down, they know they will never have it. They build their lives on lies, lies that must be constantly maintained, reinforced and repeated, until even they start to believe them. But then you come along, effortlessly exposing everything they worked so hard to hide. You are a walking contradiction to their illusion, a reminder that no matter how tightly they grip their false reality, the truth will always slip through their fingers. And so, they label you dangerous. They try to isolate you, turn people against you, make you second-guess your own mind. But let me make one thing clear. Your light is not the problem. Their fear of it is. You are not alone. You never were. The universe never abandons its chosen. Every trial, every attack, every betrayal, it was all to sharpen you, to prepare you for the weight of the power you carry. The universe knew they would come for you, so it made you unbreakable. So stop doubting, stop shrinking yourself to make them comfortable, stop letting their fear become your burden. You were given this fire for a reason. You are the alarm clock they wish they could ignore, the force they cannot control, the truth they cannot bury, and the most painful truth of all. The war they're waging is not against you. It's against reality itself, and reality always wins. Number 1, they weren't fighting you. They were fighting the reflection in your eyes. A liar's greatest fear isn't exposure. It's a mirror they can't break. They never truly hated you. They hated what they saw in your presence, their own weakness, their own cowardice, their own false reality crumbling before their eyes. You didn't attack them. You didn't even have to say a word. Your very existence was an insult to the world of lies they built. And that's why they came for you. They weren't at war with you. They were at war with the truth. And you were simply the unfortunate soul who reflected it back at them too clearly. Think about it. Why do they go out of their way to discredit you? Why do they spread rumors, twist your words, and try to turn others against you? Is it really because you're a problem? Or is it because your presence alone makes their entire life feel like a fraud? Most people don't live in reality. They exist in carefully crafted illusions. Their relationships, careers, and beliefs are built on denial, validation, and control. They don't seek truth, they seek comfort. And you're a disruption, a crack in their perfect little glass house. You weren't supposed to see through the illusion. You weren't supposed to call it out, but you did. And that's why they target you. But here's where you need to wake up, chosen one. Stop doubting yourself. Stop questioning why you're always the one who stands out, why people either gravitate toward you or resent you without reason. This isn't a coincidence. This isn't bad luck. This is power, the power of being chosen. Because when the universe chooses you, it doesn't just hand you a gift, it makes you a disruptor, a walking contradiction to the world's delusions. The rules they thought they could bend, the lies they thought they could live by, the masks they thought would never fall. You rip them all apart just by existing. You are the system's error code, the glitch in the matrix they didn't anticipate. And they tried to fix it. They mocked you. They exiled you. They called you dangerous, unstable, even psychotic. But did that stop the truth from being the truth? Did their desperation change anything real? No. All it did was expose them further. Because here's the irony. They thought they were playing you, manipulating you, controlling the narrative. But they weren't just fighting you. They were fighting against the very forces of the universe itself. And the universe doesn't lose. You've seen it, haven't you? How things always shift in your favor when you stop resisting your path. How no matter how many times they try to bury you, you rise even stronger. How their lies always unravel, their plans always collapse, and somehow, someway, you always come out on top. That's not luck, that's alignment. They were playing a game with a system that was never meant to sustain them. They were betting against the universe itself, and every time they pushed against you, the universe pushed back even harder. So now, let me ask you this. Why are you doubting? Why are you questioning yourself when every single time they tried to take you down, they were the ones who lost in the end? Wake up, chosen one. You were never the victim in this story. You were the lesson they refused to learn. And that's why they fear you. Because deep down, they know what you still struggle to accept. Your power is real. Your presence alone shifts reality. And no matter how much they resist, how much they deny, how much they try to twist the truth, the universe will always course correct. So stop running from it. Stop apologizing for it. Stop trying to fit into a system that was never built for you. You are not just a threat to them. You are the end of their illusion. Number 2, their lies were never to fool you. They were to protect themselves from the truth. A coward's greatest weapon is deception, but their greatest weakness is a truth they can't escape. They never lied to deceive you. The lies were never meant to convince you of anything. The lies were for them, a desperate attempt to hold their world together, to keep their carefully constructed delusions from crumbling. You were just collateral damage, an inconvenient witness they needed to silence. They convinced themselves they were happy, that their choices were right, that their life made sense. But then you walked in, and suddenly nothing felt stable anymore. Suddenly, the cracks they worked so hard to cover were glaring. And instead of facing that unbearable truth, they did what weak people always do. They doubled down. They denied. They distorted. They painted you as the problem, because admitting they were wrong, admitting that the life they built was based on illusion, that was too much for them to handle. So they lied. And not just once, not just casually, but over and over, stacking deception on deception, until even they started believing their own stories. Because the alternative, facing reality was simply too terrifying. And here's where you need to wake up, chosen one. You were never crazy. You were never the liar. You were never the problem. You were just the one thing they couldn't control, the one thing they couldn't manipulate, the one person they couldn't convince to play along. And that's why they turned on you. Because the truth is, people don't hate the truth itself. They hate what it demands from them. They hate the way it forces them to change, to question everything, to undo the life they spent years building. And you were a walking truth bomb. You didn't even have to say a word. Your presence alone made their false world feel unstable. And that is something they will never forgive. Think about it. Why do people lie so easily, even when there's no real benefit? Why do they twist stories, rewrite history, and shift blame like it's second nature? Is it because they're evil? No, it's because they are terrified. Terrified of looking in the mirror and seeing themselves clearly for the first time. But here's where the universe steps in. Because no matter how many lies they tell, no matter how much they try to rewrite the past, no matter how hard they fight to bury the truth, it always comes back. Always. That's the law of the universe. And that's why they fear you. Because somehow, some way, no matter how much they plot and scheme, their stories always unravel in the end. No matter how much they try to smear your name, the truth always resurfaces. No matter how much they try to break you, you always rise again. You don't need to fight them. The universe does it for you. Look back at your life. How many people have tried to destroy you, only for their own lives to fall apart instead? How many times have you been betrayed, only to come out stronger while they crumbled under their own deception? That is the power of being chosen. That is the power they will never understand. And yet, you still doubt yourself. Why? Why are you questioning your power when it has been proven time and time again? Why are you letting the lies shake you when you know the truth always wins? Why are you shrinking yourself to fit into a world that was never meant for you? Wake up. They never feared you because you were wrong. They feared you because you were right, because you had the audacity to see, because you refused to be blind like the rest of them. And no matter how much they try to erase you, silence you, twist your story, you cannot be undone, because you are the truth, and they will never be able to escape that. Number 3, their hate isn't hatred, it's an obsession they can't control. No one watches you harder than the ones who claim to hate you. They say they can't stand you, that they want nothing to do with you, that you're the problem, the enemy, the villain in their story. And yet, why are they always watching? Why do they study your every move? Why do they keep your name in their mouths, your life in their thoughts, and your existence in their shadows? Because the truth is, their hatred isn't hatred at all. It's obsession. They claim to despise you, but they can't stop talking about you. They can't stop checking on you. They can't stop waiting for you to fail, fall, or disappear. But you don't. You keep rising, and that eats them alive. See, people only obsess over what they can't control. If you were truly nothing, they wouldn't care. If you were truly insignificant, they wouldn't waste their breath. But here they are, spending their energy, their time, their focus on you. Ask yourself, have you ever seen someone stalk a person they genuinely don't care about? No. Obsession is a different breed of emotion. It's not just anger, it's not just resentment. It's a twisted fascination. They resent your existence because deep down, you are everything they wish they could be. You are free. And that drives them insane. Because unlike them, you don't live in fear. You don't shrink yourself to fit in. You don't mold your identity to match what society wants. And for people who spend their entire lives pretending, you are an unbearable reminder of the truth. So they hate, not because they don't see your value, but because they do. And that fact alone burns them. But here's where it gets even more pathetic. Have you noticed how they always act like they're above you, yet they're the first ones to react to anything you do? They claim you don't matter, yet they follow your every step like it's their job. They say you're unimportant, yet they spend more time thinking about you than they do fixing their own miserable lives. That's not hate. That's addiction. They need you. They need someone to compare themselves to. They need a reason to stay distracted from their own emptiness, because if they weren't obsessing over you, they'd have to face themselves. And trust me, that's a battle they will never win. So let them talk, let them watch, let them analyze your every move while pretending they don't care. Because here's what they don't realize. Every time they speak your name, every time they check your profile, every time they spread rumors or wait for your downfall, they are feeding your energy. They are keeping your name alive. They are making you unforgettable. And you owe them nothing. Not a response, not an explanation, not an ounce of your peace. Because they're not your enemies. They're your spectators. And the more they hate, the more they prove that you were never beneath them. You were above them the entire time. Number 4, calling you crazy is their only way to protect their delusion. When the truth becomes too dangerous, they don't silence the message. They attack the messenger. They can't argue with you, so they call you insane. They can't disprove you, so they label you unstable. They can't handle the reality you expose, so they dismiss you as paranoid. This isn't logic, it's survival. It's how weak-minded people protect themselves from the one thing they fear most, the truth. Because let's be honest, if they really believed you were crazy, they wouldn't be so desperate to convince everyone else. They wouldn't need a smear campaign. They wouldn't feel threatened. But they do. Why? Because deep down, they know you're right. They know what you see is real. They know their world doesn't add up. They know their carefully built illusion is hanging by a thread. And you're the wind that could bring it all crashing down. So they gaslight you. They don't debate you with facts. They don't engage in logic. Instead, they laugh. They roll their eyes. They use words like delusional, paranoid, unstable, because if they admit you might be right, even for a second, their entire reality falls apart. And that's something they will never allow. So they attack. Not because you're wrong, but because you make them question everything they've ever believed. You make them uncomfortable. You force them to think. And thinking is dangerous to people who have built their lives on autopilot. They would rather discredit you than face themselves. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how quickly they shut down a conversation when things get too real? How they change the subject, laugh it off, or turn the tables on you? That's not confidence, that's fear. Because if they let your words sink in, if they even consider the possibility that you might be right, they'd have to question everything. Their beliefs, their choices, their identity. And that is something most people are simply too weak to do. So they take the easy way out. They make you the problem. They twist reality until they can convince themselves that the issue isn't their delusion, it's your mind. And let's be real, chosen one. How many times have you questioned yourself because of this? How many times have you wondered, what if they're right? What if I really am overthinking? What if I really am imagining things? That's the real danger of gaslighting. It's not about convincing others that you're crazy. It's about making you doubt yourself. Because once you start second-guessing your own mind, once you hesitate, once you shrink back, they win. They get to keep living in their lie, and that's why they do it. Because it's easier to dismiss you as insane than to admit that maybe, just maybe, they've been living a lie their entire lives. But here's where they miscalculated. The truth doesn't stop being the truth just because they refuse to see it. And your mind? It's not weak, it's not broken, it's not unstable, it's awake. And that is the one thing they will never have. So stop explaining yourself. Stop trying to prove your sanity to people who are emotionally incapable of handling reality. Stop falling into their traps. They know you're not crazy. They know you're not the problem. But admitting that would mean admitting they were wrong. And that's a battle their ego will never let them win. So let them talk. Let them call you names. Let them label you whatever makes them sleep better at night. Because in the end, their words mean nothing. Reality will prove you right. It always does. Number 5. They fear you because you can stand alone, and they can't. The strongest person in the room is the one who doesn't need anyone in it. They don't just dislike you. They don't just misunderstand you. They fear you. And not because you've done anything wrong, but because you've done something they could never do. You've freed yourself from the one thing that controls them, the fear of being alone. Most people will do anything to avoid isolation. They will tolerate toxic relationships, stay in miserable jobs, fake friendships. They will betray their own values, suppress their true thoughts, and live as a watered-down version of themselves, all because they cannot handle the thought of standing alone. But you don't just handle isolation, you thrive in it. And that shakes them to their core, because your ability to walk away, to stand firm in your truth, to exist without begging for approval, exposes something about them they never wanted to admit. It exposes their dependence. See, they like to believe they are strong, independent, and in control. But deep down, they are slaves to social validation. Their sense of worth isn't rooted in who they are, but in how others see them. And you are the ultimate contradiction to their existence. Because while they cling to people for their sense of identity, you are perfectly fine on your own. And that terrifies them. It terrifies them because it forces them to ask themselves a question they don't want to answer. Who am I without the opinions of others? And for most of them, the answer is nothing. So instead of admiring your strength, they resent it. Instead of learning from your independence, they mock it. Instead of confronting their own weakness, they label you as the problem. Oh, they're just antisocial. They think they're better than everyone. They're weird, unapproachable, stuck up. No, you're free. And that makes them deeply uncomfortable. Because deep down, they wish they could do what you do. They wish they could walk away from situations that drain them. They wish they didn't need approval. They wish they could stand tall without the crutch of external validation. But they can't. They need the noise, the fake friendships, the meaningless small talk, the social distractions. Because if they were left alone with their thoughts for even a second, the weight of their own emptiness would crush them. And yet, here you are, standing firm, walking away without hesitation, choosing peace over popularity. And that is something they will never forgive. Because your existence alone is proof that they are weak. And that's why they try to make you feel like something is wrong with you. Why are you always alone? You should really get out more. You need to be more social. No, they need to be more comfortable with themselves. They need the crowd. They need the constant validation. But you are untouchable. Because the one thing they fear the most, the silence, the solitude, the absence of approval, is where you find your greatest strength. And that is why they will always fear you. Number 6. They can't control you, so they fear you, because you don't follow their script. The game was rigged before you were even born, but instead of playing, you flipped the entire board. The world isn't built for thinkers. It's not built for questioners, disruptors, or leaders. It's built for obedience, for people who follow the script without asking who wrote it, for those who stay in line, who move predictably, who react exactly as they're expected to. But you never fit the mold. You never played along. And that makes you dangerous. Because when you refuse to react the way they expect, when you refuse to let their manipulation work, when you refuse to follow the unwritten rules of control, they panic. See, most people don't even realize they're trapped. They live their entire lives inside invisible walls, never questioning why the system is the way it is. They believe what they're told. They follow the herd. They play the roles they've been assigned. But you stepped outside the lines. You looked around and saw the game for what it was. And instead of playing it, you started rewriting the rules. You stopped seeking approval. You stopped falling for their tactics. You stopped reacting the way they wanted you to react. And that is the ultimate act of rebellion. Because the moment they realize they can't manipulate you, that their usual tricks don't work, that they can't predict your next move, fear sets in. Why? Because control is their greatest weapon, and you are immune to it. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how the moment you refuse to react to their bait, they get angrier? How the more indifferent you are to their mind games, the more desperate they become. That's because they don't know what to do with someone they can't control. They are used to people folding under pressure. They are used to people falling in line. They are used to people bending to fear, guilt, and manipulation. But you don't flinch. And that is something they will never understand. Because to them, obedience isn't just expected. It's natural. It's the way the world has always worked. So when someone like you comes along, someone who thinks for themselves, someone who refuses to be a puppet, someone who won't be guilt-tripped, shamed, or forced into submission, it terrifies them. Because if you can break free, what's stopping others from doing the same? See, your freedom isn't just a threat to them, it's a threat to the entire system. Because your existence alone is proof that their power is fake, that the walls keeping everyone in line are imaginary, that the only reason people obey is because they choose to. And that is something they can never allow others to realize. So what do? They attack you. They label you difficult, uncooperative, unpredictable, arrogant, a problem. Not because you are any of those things, but because you refuse to be controlled. They need to paint you as the villain, the outcast, the one who doesn't belong, because if they admit that you're actually free, they'd have to face the reality that they are not. So they push harder. They try to make you doubt yourself. They try to guilt-trip you into conforming. They try to isolate you, turn people against you, make you feel like you are the problem. Why? Because they can't break you any other way. And that is proof of your power. Because in a world that was built to keep people in line, you are the error in the system. And no matter how hard they try, no matter what tactics they use, no matter how much pressure they apply, one simple truth remains. You don't play their games. You rewrite the rules. And that is why they will always fear you. Number 7, they respect you, yet they resent you. because you are everything they are not. They admire your strength, but hate that it's real. They copy your mindset, but resent that it comes naturally to you. They want what you have, but without doing what you did to get it. You are a paradox in their world, a walking contradiction they can't reconcile. They despise you, yet they study you. They mock you, yet they imitate you. They criticize you in public, yet take notes in private. Because deep down, they know the truth. They want to be you, but they never will be. Because what you have can't be faked. It can't be borrowed. It can't be learned through a quick motivational video or copied through empty words. What you have is something that can only be earned. You went through the fire. You faced your demons. You walked alone when no one understood you. You embraced the isolation that would have broken them. You built yourself from the ground up, not for attention, not for validation, but because you had no other choice. And that is why they both respect and resent you. Because your strength didn't come from pretending. It didn't come from the approval of others. It came from pain, from loss, from survival. And they hate that. Because they want your confidence, but they don't want to endure the suffering that created it. They want your wisdom, but they don't want to walk through the darkness that shaped it. They want your resilience, but they don't want to experience the betrayal, the abandonment, the trials that made it necessary. So instead, they settle for something easier. They tear you down. They insult you. They try to discredit you. They whisper about you behind closed doors while secretly taking notes on how you move. Because in the end, they have no choice but to acknowledge the truth. You are real, and that's a problem for them, because their entire world is built on pretense, on appearances, on doing whatever it takes to fit in. Meanwhile, you are proof that a different way exists, a way that doesn't require begging for approval, a way that doesn't involve watering yourself down to be accepted. And that terrifies them, because if what you have is real, that means their entire existence is fake. So they sit in their discomfort, torn between their admiration and their resentment, drawn to your energy, yet bitter that they will never have it. And yet, despite all of this, they still need you. Why? Because people like you are rare. You are the force that challenges the status quo, the mirror that exposes what they lack, the silent reminder that there is more to life than following the crowd. And while they may never admit it, while they may fight it with everything they have, deep down, they know they are drawn to you for a reason, because you represent freedom. And that is something they will never stop obsessing over. Number 8, you were never meant to fit in. You were meant to break their control. The greatest enemy of a corrupt system isn't rebellion, it's awareness. They don't fear you because you fight back. They don't fear you because you're loud, aggressive, or disruptive. No. What truly terrifies them is the fact that you see them. You see through their illusions, their manipulations, their invisible chains disguised as normal life. And that makes you dangerous. Because the world doesn't run on freedom, it runs on control. Not physical chains, but mental ones. Leashes so subtle that most people don't even realize they're being led. They are programmed to obey, to follow trends, to accept what they are told without question. And the moment someone steps out of line, the system has one goal: silence them before they wake anyone else up. You were never asleep. You never bought into the lies. You questioned what others blindly accepted. You saw cracks in the illusion they told you was unbreakable, and that's why they don't try to debate you or prove you wrong, because they can't. So instead, they do what weak systems always do when faced with an unstoppable truth. They discredit the messenger. They're just a conspiracy theorist. They're extreme, unstable, difficult. They don't understand how the world works. No, you understand too well. Because the truth is, this world doesn't reward intelligence. It rewards obedience. It doesn't elevate the free thinkers, the questioners, the ones who see beyond the smoke and mirrors. It elevates the ones who comply, the ones who fit into the system seamlessly, who never challenge authority, who never disrupt the flow of control. But you are an error in their programming, a glitch they cannot contain, and that's why they come for you. Because control only works when the masses believe they are free. And the moment someone wakes up and sees the cage for what it is, they threaten the entire operation. Because awareness spreads. Once one person escapes, they don't just leave quietly, they pull others out with them. And that is exactly what they don't want. So they turn you into the villain. They push the idea that questioning is dangerous, that thinking for yourself is reckless, that going against the grain makes you unstable. It's all psychological warfare, because they know the human mind fears isolation. If they can make you believe that you're alone in your thoughts, if they can make you second-guess your own awareness, if they can convince you that no one else sees what you see, you'll stop. You'll shrink back into the crowd. You'll silence yourself. And that's the ultimate goal. But here's where they fail. You were never built to be controlled. No matter how much they try to shame you, silence you, label you, you don't fold. You don't stop seeing. You don't stop questioning. And that is what makes them nervous. Because deep down, they know they are not as powerful as they pretend to be. If the system were truly unshakable, they wouldn't need propaganda to keep people in line. If their version of reality was truly the truth, they wouldn't have to force-feed it through every screen, every law, every institution. But they do. And that alone should tell you everything. So stop doubting yourself. Stop questioning why they try so hard to discredit you. It's not because you're wrong. It's because you're right. And the more they fear you, the more they expose themselves. So let them be nervous. Let them scramble. Let them spin their narratives. Because in the end, truth is louder than propaganda. And no matter how much they try to keep you in the dark, the light always wins. Number 9. They can't fight the truth, so they try to destroy the messenger. When people can't defeat your mind, they attack your character. They don't come at you with logic. They don't challenge your ideas with reason. They don't have facts, evidence, or even a coherent argument. Because deep down, they know they can't win that battle. So what do? They make you the problem. They turn the conversation away from the truth and toward you. They twist your words, slander your name, spread gossip, and try to make people question who you are because they can't handle what you're saying. This isn't just pettiness. This is desperation. Weak people don't debate. They assassinate. Not physically, but mentally, emotionally, and socially. And let's be honest, how many times has this happened to you? How many times have you tried to have an honest conversation only to be met with personal attacks? How many times have people ignored what you're saying just to focus on how you said it? How many times have you spoken the truth only to be labeled difficult, toxic, or crazy? This isn't an accident. It's a strategy. Because the moment they can turn you into the villain, they no longer have to address the truth you bring. If they can make people see you as aggressive, unstable, or problematic, then they can convince themselves and everyone else that nothing you say matters. It's a psychological defense mechanism, because acknowledging your truth would mean admitting they were wrong. It would mean confronting their own failures, illusions, and lies. And they will not do that. They would rather rewrite history, twist reality, and distort everything you say before they ever admit that maybe, just maybe, you were right. So they attack. They create fake narratives. They gossip behind your back. They take things you've said, pull them out of context, and weaponize them against you. And the worst part, they actually believe their own nonsense. Because the mind of a weak person isn't focused on truth, it's focused on survival. And for them, survival means maintaining their fragile self-image. If you expose something that threatens their illusion of control, they have to find a way to destroy your credibility. Not because you're wrong, but because the truth you hold is too powerful. So let me ask you, why do you doubt yourself? Why do you hesitate when they attack you, when their very desperation is proof that you've hit a nerve? Why do you question your own truth when their reaction only confirms that they have no real defense? Think about it. If you were truly wrong, if your words carried no weight, if your presence held no power, why would they even care? Weak people don't waste energy on things that don't matter, but they waste energy on you. And that should tell you everything. Because the truth is, you don't even have to fight them. The universe does it for you. Their lies always unravel. Their stories always collapse. Their fake personas always crumble under the weight of reality. And you keep rising. You keep shining. You keep proving them wrong without even trying. So stop explaining yourself. Stop defending yourself against people who never wanted the truth to begin with. They don't want understanding. They want control. And since they can't control you, they attack. Let them. Because at the end of the day, no lie, no rumor, no smear campaign will ever be strong enough to bury the truth. And you are the truth. Number 10. They're not just fighting you. They're drowning in their own lies. The truth doesn't need maintenance. Lies do, and eventually they collapse under their own weight. They don't hate you because you did something wrong. They don't attack you because you've harmed them in any way. No, their hostility toward you has nothing to do with you, and everything to do with the exhausting burden of maintaining their own deception. Lying is easy at first. It's effortless to wear a mask when it's new, to craft a persona, to project an image that isn't real. But what they never realize in the beginning is that lies require constant upkeep. Every false narrative they create demands more energy, more cover-ups, more manipulation to keep the illusion alive. And that's exhausting. Because the moment they slip, even slightly, everything starts to unravel. And here's where you become a problem. You don't live like that. You don't perform. You don't fake happiness. You don't mold yourself into what society expects just to be accepted. You walk in truth. You are truth. And to someone who has spent their entire life carefully crafting a false reality, your existence alone is an unbearable reminder of just how tired they really are. They don't envy you because of what you have. They envy you because of what you don't need. You don't need constant validation. You don't need to manipulate people to maintain an image. You don't need the exhausting effort of keeping up with a facade. And that makes them resent you. Because while they are trapped in their own deception, forced to carry the unbearable weight of a life built on lies, you are free. And nothing is more painful to a prisoner than seeing someone who was never shackled to begin with. So they lash out, not because you deserve it, but because their own fatigue is eating them alive. They have spent so much time pretending to be happy, pretending to be successful, pretending to have it all together. that the truth has become their greatest enemy. And you are that truth. You don't have to say a word. You don't have to expose them. Just being around you forces them to confront what they've been avoiding all along. That their happiness is performative. That their success is a house of cards. That their carefully curated life is a mask they can never take off. And that is draining. So instead of facing it, they project. They turn their exhaustion into anger. They convince themselves that you are the problem, that you are the one making their life difficult, because if they admitted the real source of their misery, they'd have to take responsibility. And responsibility. That's something they've been running from their entire lives. So they attack you. They call you arrogant. They label you too much. They try to break you down so you'll join them in their misery, because nothing terrifies them more than the idea that you might inspire others to stop playing along too. But here's where they fail, because no matter how much they fight, how much they plot, how much they try to keep up with their deception, the truth will always win in the end. Lies require maintenance. They require effort. They require constant reinforcement. And eventually, that kind of exhaustion catches up. You've seen it before. The ones who worked so hard to convince the world they were happy, only to break down behind closed doors. The ones who pretended to be on top, only to collapse under the pressure of their own lies. You don't have to expose them. They will expose themselves. And when that happens, when their entire illusion comes crashing down, don't be surprised when they come running back, desperate to be around the very authenticity they once hated. But by then, it'll be too late. Because while they were busy drowning in deception, you were busy living in freedom. Number 11. They pretend to hate you, but they're secretly studying you. They don't admire you openly because that would mean admitting you're ahead. They say they don't like you. They roll their eyes when your name comes up. They mock you in conversations, act indifferent, and pretend you don't matter. But watch closely. Do they ever truly leave you alone? No. They stay near. They watch from the shadows. They keep tabs on you, lurking in the background, waiting, studying, analyzing. Because here's the truth they will never admit. They are fascinated by you. They don't just dislike you, they need to understand you. Because deep down, they know you are operating at a different level. You are seeing things they don't, moving in ways they can't, thinking in ways they don't even understand. And that makes them obsessed. They don't just observe, you can see it in their actions. They mimic you. They adopt your ideas, your words, your energy. The same people who insult you in public are the ones secretly trying to copy your essence in private. But here's the kicker. They don't even realize they're following your lead. They think they're watching you just to find faults, just to fuel their hate, just to gather more reasons to justify why they despise you. But in the process, they absorb. They learn. They pick up on your ways, your mindset, your movement. And before they know it, they start reflecting what they swore they hated. That's the irony of being a chosen one. Your energy is too strong to simply be observed. The moment they focus on you, they start becoming influenced by you, whether they like it or not. That's why they stay close. They won't admit it, but they know you're ahead. They know you see things they don't. And they know that deep down, there is something about you that is unshakable. That's why they can't leave you alone. But here's where you need to wake up, chosen one. Stop questioning why they won't let you be. Stop wondering why they claim to dislike you, but still watch your every move. Stop wasting energy trying to understand their contradictions. They don't hate you. They envy you. Because you are something they cannot explain. Most people in this world follow a blueprint. They need instructions, a system, a guide. They operate within the limits society has programmed into them. But you are free. You move in ways they were never taught to. You see beyond the layers they don't even know exist. And that makes you unpredictable. Unpredictability terrifies weak minds. So they do the only thing they know how to do. They try to study you, not to learn from you, but to learn how to control you, how to categorize you, how to make sense of something that defies logic in their programmed minds. But they can't, because you are not following their system. You are not operating by their rules. You are not bound by the invisible chains that keep them locked in place. And no matter how closely they watch, no matter how much they analyze, no matter how desperately they try to define you, they never will. So let them watch, let them mimic, let them try to understand, because in the end, they will always be 2 steps behind. And deep down, they know it. That's why they hate you. That's why they can't let go. And that's why they will never, ever stop watching. Number 12. Your silence isn't weakness. It's the bullet they never saw coming. A fool's greatest enemy is their own mouth. Let them talk, and they will bury themselves. They push you, provoke you, throw accusations your way, all while waiting for you to react. They want the argument, the emotional response, the outburst, because that's what they need to win. If they can make you defend yourself, if they can drag you into their chaos, they control the narrative. But what happens when you don't play their game? What happens when you stay silent? They panic. Because your silence is not weakness, it's ammunition. It forces them to keep talking, to keep proving themselves, to keep exposing the very things they swore weren't true. See, weak people rely on noise. They rely on drama. They need engagement, because without it, their accusations are nothing more than echoes in an empty room. They don't care about truth. They care about controlling perception. And if you engage with them, even in your own defense, you give them exactly what they want, fuel. But when you stay silent, you starve them. You take away the one thing they crave, validation. And that is when their mask begins to slip. Because here's what they never expected. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to argue. You don't need to convince anyone of who you are. The truth exists with or without their approval. And the longer you stay silent, the more their own contradictions begin to show. At first, they will mock you. See, they have nothing to say. Silence means guilt. But then they keep talking, they keep pushing, and in their desperation, they expose themselves. They contradict their own lies. They get caught up in their own web. They say too much, reveal too much, prove everything you never had to say out loud. And by the time they realize what's happening, it's too late. Because silence is the sharpest weapon. It doesn't attack. It allows the enemy to destroy themselves. Look back at your life. How many times have you seen this happen? How many times have people tried to paint you as the villain, only for their own actions to betray them? How many times have you walked away from the battle only to watch them unravel from the weight of their own deception? That wasn't luck. That was strategy. Because the universe always moves in favor of truth. And the more you let the liars talk, the more they write their own downfall. But here's where you need to wake up, chosen one. Stop feeling like you owe people an explanation. Stop thinking you need to clear your name, justify your actions, or argue with those who are never going to see reality. Some people are not looking for the truth. They are looking for control. And the moment you engage, you give it to them. So stay silent. Let them say what they will. Let them believe what they want. Because in the end, they are not fighting you. They are fighting the inevitable weight of their own lies. And that's a battle they will never win. Number 13. They laugh now, but one day they'll speak your truth as if it was their own. Every great truth passes through 3 stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. Third, it is accepted as self-evident. Today, they mock you. They roll their eyes, call you extreme, dismiss you as dramatic or out of touch. They laugh at your words, your warnings, your insight, because it's easier to make fun of something than to try and understand it. But watch what happens next. Give it time. Let the truth unfold the way it always does, because one day, those same people who called you crazy will repeat your words, just with their name attached instead of yours. They will act like they always knew, like they came to these realizations on their own, like they were never the ones scoffing, denying, or rejecting what you said. They'll preach the very ideas they once mocked, turning your wisdom into their own revelation. Because the truth is always ridiculed before it is accepted. They couldn't grasp it when you said it. It was too soon, too real, too different from the comfortable lies they clung to. But once enough time passes, once they see for themselves what you saw long ago, they'll finally understand. But don't expect credit. Don't expect an apology. Don't expect them to acknowledge that you were right from the start. They never will. Because admitting they were wrong means admitting that you were ahead of them, and their ego will never allow that. So let them talk. Let them mock. Let them dismiss you now. Because in the end, the truth always wins. And when they finally catch up to where you've been all along, the only thing you'll need to do is smile. Number 14. They will break themselves, trying to break you because reality is not on their side. A lie needs constant maintenance. The truth stands on its own. They think they're fighting you, but they're not. They're fighting reality itself, and that is a battle they will never win. They exhaust themselves trying to hold together a false narrative. They twist facts, rewrite history, and manipulate perceptions, all in a desperate attempt to keep the illusion alive. But the truth doesn't require maintenance. The truth doesn't need an audience. The truth doesn't care who believes it. And that's why you don't have to prove anything. You don't need to argue. You don't need to defend yourself. You don't need to convince people who have already decided to live in denial. Because time will do what you don't have to. Watch closely. They are already unraveling. They are already slipping, contradicting themselves, running in circles trying to cover up the cracks in their own stories. They think they're outsmarting you, but they're only outpacing their own destruction. Because the more they fight, the weaker they become. They don't see it yet, but you do. And that's why you remain untouched, unshaken, unbothered. Because you understand what they don't. Truth always wins. Always. Maybe not immediately. Maybe not in the way they expect. But in the end, reality will correct itself. And when that day comes, when the weight of their own lies comes crashing down on them, you won't have to lift a single finger. The universe will take care of it for you. And there it is, the undeniable truth they refuse to face. They never stood a chance against you because they were never fighting you in the first place. They were battling against reality itself, and that war was lost before it even began. So stand firm, chosen one. Let them exhaust themselves trying to hold up illusions that will inevitably collapse. You don't need to lift a finger, just keep walking in your truth. If this message resonated with you, drop the number 77 in the comments, like, subscribe, and share this with another chosen one. Let the universe spread the truth.